Yo, what's good? It's Capital X TV. This is like episode 22. So, what I wanted to do with this one is try and drop a gem, for anyone that's out there awaiting to be sentenced to go to prison, or if you know someone that's waiting to be sentenced to go to prison. I'm hoping that this may help them or help you. It helped me. So this is coming from personal experience. It's not just something that's, studied or made up or anything like that. I actually practiced this and it helped me big time. I have been to prison a few times, and every time that I served a bid, and was getting out, I, of course, didn't want to go back. Nobody leaves prison, wanting to go back. Everybody wants to stay out. But very few are successful. If you look at the recidivism rate in America, the recidivism rate is very high. Most people end up going back. If not for like a violation, they go back with a new charge and whatnot. And it has a lot to do with leaving the belly of the beast without a plan, without any direction, without mapping out what you want to do or where you want to go. Like I said, I speak from experience. Every time I got out there, it was like, there's no way in hell I'm going back. But I would, wind up going back. And I know some of y'all will be thinking, well, if you don't do nothing wrong, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. That's absolutely false, All you got to do is look at the exoneration rate and know that you don't have to do anything wrong to get locked up in the U.S. You're talking about a business here, a multi-billion-dollar business, and they'll do anything to keep that business thriving, But let's talk about us individually, how can we get, away from that revolving door of going back, There's a lot of different aspects that need to be thought about, but this one, would be like number one. If you're about to get sentenced, somebody's about to get sentenced, my advice would be, once you're sentenced and you're taken away, that cell door slams behind you, from that very second, you start preparing for your release. Everything that you do, from the moment that gate locks behind you, everything you do should be geared towards preparing for your inevitable release. And I'm going to tell you where I got that. When I was awaiting sentencing on my last bid, I was fortunate enough to be out on bail. One of very few times that I was out on bail before, a case coming to its head. I started to prepare myself. I knew I was going in. So the one thing I did was I got clean and sober. I got clean and sober and started training to be in the best shape possible. Because doing time ain't easy. It's difficult on you, not just physically but mentally and spiritually. So I wanted to prepare myself to do this bid, and I also wanted to prepare myself to not come back. I was looking, so I did a lot of reading while I was awaiting my sentencing, and I came across a story about Nelson Mandela. When Nelson Mandela was sentenced to life in prison, he said upon entering the prison after being sentenced to life, he began to prepare for his release. He said that he imagined himself leaving the prison and becoming the first the president of South Africa. I had to read it twice because I was just like, hold up, this brother got sentenced to life, and life means life over the, where he was in Africa. And though he was sentenced to life, his mentality was, I am going to prepare for my release. And then it made sense to me, it's like, yeah, you gotta look, think positive and look forward, in a positive way. So I took that gem with me. Like I said, I had already started to try to prepare myself, and I was on my Malcolm, on my Malcolm X, rehabilitating myself and trying to, re-educate myself. So that's how I came across that quote, you know, by Mandela, that little story piece. So upon my, sentencing, that's what I did. The door locked behind me, and from that moment forward, I started to prepare for my release. I started to re-educate myself. I read everything that I can possibly get my hands on when I didn't have any, self-help books or, autobiographies or anything like that to feed my brain. Nothing but positive stuff, you know what I mean? When I didn't have that, I would turn to the Quran, or I would turn to the Bible and found gems within them. And I kept a notebook, all the quotes that pertained to me and made me feel empowered. I'd write down in my notebook, and I also had a section in my notebook that I planned what I wanted to do when I got out. I was basically, mapping out my life, for when I got out, because that's what happens to a lot of us. We don't plan, we don't think ahead, and when we're released, it's like, where are you gonna go? It's like trying to travel, not knowing where to go. You end up driving around in circles, and you wind up in the same, predicament and in the same situation. So that's what I did for 5 years, was prepare for my inevitable release. And whether it's, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, the more time you have, the more preparation, you have. That's, if you use every single day that you have in front of you to serve, you use every day to better yourself and prepare for your release, that increases your chances on not going back. Point blank, and there's a lot of different tips. It's like, I knew what I wanted to do, when I got out, so I tried to get reading material that better prepared me, and that way I can achieve my goal. And I wanted to be in the music industry like a lot of people do, right? So it's like, it's not just about sitting in your cell writing rhymes. I started to study the music business, and look at different aspects of the music industry. And when I got out, I ended up going to college to study music engineering, because I felt that was one piece of the puzzle that I was missing. As far as being an artist, I depended a lot on, studios and studio engineers. So it's like, I wanted to get acquainted with that. I had spent years in the studio not knowing what's going on, just being there. I got on the mic when the engineer told me to get on the mic. So I wanted to know the lingo and know what was going on. So that was part of my plan, was to get that education and to go to college. I had dropped out. I dropped out after the 8th grade, so I only had an 8th grade education. And while I was incarcerated doing my last bid, all the self re-education and all that, I did take GED classes, and I obtained my GED, which was, that's a vlog in itself, how I achieved that. But I did it, and and I ended up going to college, and this was part of, my planning. Over that 5 years, all the planning, down to details, where I was going to live, who I was going to hang out with, what I was going to do, everything that I could possibly, anything that came to mind that was positive, I wrote down in preparation for my release. I basically built my blueprint. And that's the advice that I give, I gave and give to prisoners. After my release and I became an activist, I got the opportunity to go to different facilities, prisons, from medium security up to maximum security. And this is a gem that I, put on them. It's like, when I leave here, from the moment you go back to your cell, start preparing for your release. Don't get all mixed up in the prison politics, Of course you have to be in the moment, and be aware of your surroundings and all that. But any chance that you're on your own, any moment that you're on your own in your cell or in the library, you work towards bettering yourself and preparing for your inevitable release. And I don't care what the sentence is, even if you want death row, you fight in your case, you can still prepare for your release. That example that we have of Mandela, saying that the moment I was sentenced to life, I began to prepare for my release. I mean, that's an incredible. You're talking about manifest. You know, he spoke it into existence, manifested that. Like, you know, I saw myself leaving the prison and becoming president of South Africa, and that's exactly what happened. So if that doesn't, you know, inspire you or your loved one that's facing prison time, I don't know what will. But that would be the #1 gem that I would put on people that are facing time is prepare for your release. Use every single day, every minute of every day, working towards bettering yourself and preparing for your inevitable release. That way when you get out, you have your blueprint, you have a map, you have direction, and then all you have to do is execute whatever you come up with. And that's what I got. And then I'll tell you, all the times that I've gotten out, not just to prison, but out of jail, and I've tried to succeed in not going back and failed, that was the reason why I didn't prepare for it. So when I got thrown back out, it's like, yeah, you're all discombobulated trying to, you know, re-enter into society, and they're throwing all these things at you. You know, you got to see your parole officer, you got to get a job, I mean, it gets really difficult when you don't have an anchor, and that anchor being, you know, your direction. You have your steps, you have your blueprint, and then you just take it on day by day when you get out, disciplined. The same way you've disciplined yourself over, you know, the course of time that you're in there, rehabilitating yourself, re-educating yourself, and preparing for your release. That discipline, you put it into effect when you get out, going towards your goals. You got your short-term goals, your medium goals, and your long-term goal. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I got for y'all. If you have anything to add to what I'm saying, put it down in the comments. That way anyone that watches this video and is really looking for help, because I know there's organizations out there, there's businesses that have been built around preparing people, you know, to go to prison, but it's not this. You know, that's for green people that have never been in trouble, never been tied, like white collar criminals, you know, that are scared to death to go to prison. I'm telling you right now, for y'all, no matter what status you have, you know, who you are, if you follow this, prepare for your release. From the moment you go in, you're going to do good, because it keeps you focused. And like I said, you want to stay, you know, present and be aware of your surroundings, you know. But in every moment that you have, you know, to yourself, you work on yourself, and you will definitely see results. And I'll guarantee you, you follow that, and you won't go back. You know what I mean? And this is the longest that I've ever been out of prison after following this program right here. This gem is the longest I've been out of prison since I was 17 years old. Before that, I think I celebrated 5 years, which was a big deal. I celebrated being free for 5 years straight. It was like huge, you know. And after I celebrated 5 years, couple of months later, I caught my last case. Now this time it's been 15 years, yeah, close to 15 years now that I've been out. So it works if you work it. All right. So like I said, if you got anything to add, put it down in the comments. If you have any questions, you can put it down in the comments. Hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification bell. You'll be doing me a solid. And share this with anyone that you think needs this information. I will be dropping a couple of more videos with some more gems on how to survive the system in the U.S. You know, if you're caught up in the web of the system, trying to get out, you know, of the web of the system, or are trying to stay free from the web of the system. All right, I'll be dropping some more on that. So until next time, it's Capital X TV. Peace.